How do you learn a language by watching shows or movies? Let's get into it. There are some important things to discuss before we dive into this topic, but stick around because I promise that afterwards I'll get right to the answers you seek that made you want to watch this video in the first place. We just have to lay some groundwork first. You have to ask yourself these questions before you start. How fluent do you want to be? How much time do you have? Have you learned another language before? How similar is this language to your mother tongue? If you want to be near native fluent just by watching media in that language, no. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. You can gain a good amount of fluency this way, but not near native. Near native fluency requires much more than watching movies and shows. How fluent you become will depend on the work you put into it. Preparation is key. It doesn't matter how much exposure you get to the language in question. If you don't understand anything you're watching, then you won't learn anything. You need reliable resources that teach grammar and vocabulary. Otherwise, you'll be forced to learn through the slow process of observation and association like you did as a kid, and you do not have time for that. Also, this method in adulthood requires access to something known as a language parent, which I highly doubt you have access to either. If you do have access to someone who is helping you with a language, just as your parents helped you to learn your mother tongue, then that's awesome. But I doubt the majority of you watching this video have that. If you don't have several hours to dedicate to watching shows, movies, and videos in your target language, then you need to use other methods alongside this strategy. The examples of celebrities who learned English just by watching TV in English had several hours to dedicate to this, as they most often did it as children. And they often do not discuss the moments at the beginning when they understood virtually nothing. But even they would have used other media to learn alongside television. Just one method alone to learn a language isn't enough. Even your native language was, or native languages were, learned through various resources and several different types of exposure. If you have learned another language before, then this process is significantly easier than if you have not. If you have already learned another language, you know what to expect to a certain extent, and are better equipped for this form of self-instruction, assuming the language has grammar you are familiar with. If you've never learned another language before, then it's going to be a bigger challenge. But it's still possible if you have reasonable expectations and persevere. If the language is similar to your mother tongue, then subtitles are more reliable, but should still be used with caution. You'll confidently pick up words because the word order will be more predictable, and you won't have to rely as much on isolated words and repetition in dialogue to understand their meanings. As a bonus, several words will sound similar to ones that you already know. These are called cognates and are your best friends. But be wary of false cognates, also known as false friends. Just because a word sounds similar doesn't mean it is. Subtitles are often not entirely accurate, so use them with caution if you do, and if the target language is drastically different from your mother tongue, then you shouldn't use subtitles at all. With all of these factors in mind, here's how to make the most out of your watch time. Do a small amount of prep work first, and repeat as often as needed. Google the ways that this language is different from your mother tongue, and write them down or save them in your notes in your phone to reference while you're watching. This will prevent you from mislearning, or at least lessen the amount you'll learn incorrectly. Having to unlearn and relearn is typical during self-instruction, and is not the end of the world. Heck, I've had to unlearn things taught to me by professors of so-called high prestige. Don't worry, I can talk about effective unlearning methods in a future video. As you're watching, pay attention to context. For example, what are the characters doing when they're speaking? Do they point to something specific when saying these words? Was ist das? Blut. This is just FX blood for my artist/writer brand. Don't worry about it. I believe this one is mouth safe and tastes like strawberries. See if the factors you observed repeat. For example, chur means eat. If you guessed that due to the bowl and chopsticks, then you were correct. But just to be safe, you'd want to see if chur were used in the same ways in other scenes as well. Chur does have other meanings. Repetition will affirm your assumptions, whereas one-time interactions will not. Pay attention to your progress. Focus on what you understand instead of on what you don't. This will keep you motivated and will keep you from getting discouraged. Even learning a single word or phrase is already more than you knew before. Let your brain have fun. Treat it like a puzzle that you want to solve. If you have subtitles on, turn them off sometimes, and ignore them from time to time when they are on. Use your knowledge of word order and grammatical differences to decipher what is actually being said versus what you see in the subtitles, if you have them on. But do not rely on the subtitles because you can already read in your mother tongue. This won't help you to learn the target language. Over time, watching shows and movies will increase your fluency, and studying grammar and vocabulary alongside this will expedite the process. Watching, playing, doing, writing, reading, speaking, narrating, explaining, and listening to things in the target language are all methods for how you learn a language properly and to the point of near native fluency. But this video only covers one type of watching. There are other things you can watch to learn a language that aren't TV shows or movies. And we'll discuss playing, doing, writing, reading, speaking, narrating, explaining, and listening as methods of learning and practice in future videos. Until next time, friends, happy language learning.